Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Visual Effects Artists React. Today we're looking at aliens. All of them. It's gonna be a good time. Lots of crazy stuff from like literally the 80s and 70s before CG to the most modern CG effects you've ever seen. Let's begin. I've brought to the table Aliens, the second film directed by James Cameron, incredibly involved in it, came out after Terminator. The first Alien was made by Ridley Scott, you know, that same guy that made Gladiator, and a lot of other amazing films. A very different movie than the rest of them. Still very good, but it's truly like an A24 horror film set in space. And then James Cameron was like, I love it, I'm looking for work. The studio's like, we need somebody to work on writing this sequel to Alien. And he's like, okay, I'll start working on it. At the time, he was writing Rambo and some other things. And he's like, you know what'd be really cool? I've been working on this Vietnam stuff. What about taking like grunts, you know, grunt soldiers, Vietnam guys, and putting them in space? And James Cameron single-handedly invented modern sci-fi with that thought.
Maybe they don't show up on infrared at all.
Yes! Yes!
So good. Oh, man.
I knew it was coming and I still didn't know exactly where it was. Wow.
Yes. So satisfying.
Oh, he's burning.
Oh, wow, that was, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, awesome sequence. You want to hear a cool fact about those flamethrowers? You guys are getting engrossed, I could tell.
Yeah, I was just ready to watch,
I
man.
literally forgot we were looking for VFX.
Yeah.
They had to build actual functioning flamethrowers for the actors to use on set. So those are all completely real. The problem with that is that your actors ends up lighting the whole set on fire. So what they do is they use propane instead, and they use rubber cement, which burns. They put the rubber cement on the walls, so the person hits the walls with the propane extinguisher, doesn't spray liquid fuel everywhere, doesn't start the set on fire, and then those designated areas, that rubber cement will light on fire.
Interesting, okay, yeah.
So Stan Winston and his shop, his effects shop, did all the aliens, and he did a fantastic job. The alien in the first film was incredible. It was a giant 7-foot dude in like a rubber suit. It was super heavy, and it looked fantastic. But Stan Winston said he had one disappointment with the first film. And he said it was the last shot where you can see the alien is just a guy in a rubber suit.
It's a little bit of a
It's
dude.
just a dude with knees and ankles and feet, you know?
Yeah, that feels dude in a suit.
And so Stan Winston was like, I am never gonna let it look like a dude in the suit. They built puppets they actually used a lot, which had skinnier limbs than real people, so you could sell that it wasn't a real person in certain shots. And they also used dancers and stuntmen and stuntwomen that were lanky but strong that could do the performance.
Yep, I do not see a dude.
They also rarely have the aliens standing on the ground. They're jumping on walls, they're grabbing people from upside down. And the last thing they did is instead of building a big, heavy rubber suit, everybody's basically just wearing black leotards with foam blocks cut out and put onto the leotards. And if you looked at it under the light, you'd be like, wow, those are just foam blocks stapled to like a black leotard. But once they put a bunch of slime and goop on it and then lit it with strobe lights and fire, you couldn't tell.
And that was so that they could keep their mobility.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So, but then this one, an explosion goes off.
So Stan Winston basically built a bunch of like dolls for them just to blow up with squibs. And something I noticed is that these shots were shot with a higher shutter speed than the rest of the film, which lets you really see the particulate and the drops of blood. And when just watching them in slow motion, look at all that texture. Like, you don't get this kind of texture from CGI explosions and things popping these days. Like, you can't beat practical when it comes to this look.
Well, there's so much stinking nuance to take into account.
Yeah, which just literally just happens when
You
you do
get
it
for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get for free.
There's still a reason to do this kind of stuff practically.
One, good. Take it away.
Whoa, what a cool build.
How does that move? Is that like legitimately just like walking around? Surely it's suspended. It is suspended, I see the wires.
Yeah, it's suspended.
Okay.
Wow.
Those two little points sticking out of the top have tiny little wires that go up and out of frame, probably to keep the thing from tumbling over, but it does look hydraulic based, so it does look like it operates without any ability to balance itself.
So it is suspended from the ceiling for safety, also because it weighs 600 pounds. Ooh! Here's how it works.
Whoa.
There's a bodybuilder stuntman inside of the powerlifter. So there's an actor who stands on it, and there's an actual yoked dude inside of it who does all the movement.
You're saying there's a power lifter in the power lifter?
Yes!
What? That's crazy.
So it's just a yoked dude just like moving stuff around. And like all the arms are counterweighted.
Wait,
so
are you kidding me?
It's so funny just thinking this guy who's in the mech is just like, all right, I'll just get on this dude and, walk me around the hangar.
Is that, okay, but like, how is his leg?
Well, this is the thing that I think not a lot of people realize is that when Sigourney was in that costume, there's a giant dude behind her in that costume moving the arms. And this is where Sigourney Weaver's hand was. And this is the shoulder of the dude helping her move this around.
So
How clever.
Yeah, there's so much going into it. Like there's the claw mechanisms, there's the twisting mechanisms, there's the closing mechanisms.
Like, I like how this shows that she has to lift her foot, which hits the strap, which tells the computer of the power lifter to lift the foot. Kind of like a cool little detail, just visually explaining how this thing works.
It's like the amount of curation each one of these shots takes and setup and thought. It's crazy to think how much time it must have taken to capture each one of these images.
Dude, imagine instead of garbage trucks, it was just power lifters.
Just slowly taking out the garbage.
Going down the street.
And then it just like returns home with your garbage can and then comes back.
Facehuggers.
Oh, the flood, dude.
Huggers.
So you guys are gonna see a lot of facehugger action. I want you to tell me how they make a move.
Wait.
Whoa.
Yeah, how are they doing that?
That's
Now keep in mind, there's no way to paint out wires or
Oh,
sticks.
yeah.
Painting
I
out
always-
doesn't exist yet.
Because, I mean, what are the options?
I bet it's like Woody from Toy Story, where it's got like a little drawstring, and that causes its legs to go, and it actually is being suspended by some sort of really fine string, and they're just pulling it along as it's going.
And what's crazy is if that is how they're doing it, the contact to motion looks so good. Like it looks like as it's planting its feet, it's actually propelling itself and not like being pulled across and just randomly lowering
Yeah,
its
imagine
legs.
it taking like 3 steps for every 1 step it should have taken.
Yeah.
So Wren, that's a good idea what you put out there, but what Jordan put out is exactly the problem they're having, among many others, when they're trying to come up with the facehuggers. Because yeah, if you wind it up and you don't move it at the same rate, then the legs don't run at the same rate.
It's the illusion.
Are there wheels in those little sacks?
Is there
Another
magnets?
thing that they actually tried, and James Cameron and Stan Winston were going back and forth on how to do this. They tried the wheel thing, like, oh yeah, let's make it wheels. So when you roll the wheels, the hands go like this or whatever. That wasn't working either. What they ended up settling on was there's a wire that runs down the set, and then it wraps around a little wheel inside of the thing. And there's another wire they can use to pull the facehugger forwards and backwards. So as it goes forwards and backwards, that little wheel on the wire will turn. And that, through a series of intricate gears, will move the legs.
Okay.
And the thing about that is that if you stop pulling, the legs stop.
They've
If you pull
tethered it.
slowly, the legs move slowly. And if you pull fast, they go fast. The legs actually stick to the ground and move at the correct speed.
That's pretty sick. Okay,
So
that's clever.
cool.
I like that.
Hey guys, just bursting in to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. At the start of every year, I like to think about what the year means to me and lay out intentions and goals for myself. But this can also be a stressful and kind of anxiety-inducing endeavor. Therapy can help with something like this. It gives you a teammate to help you break down where these feelings are coming from, how you can take actionable steps to address them. BetterHelp works with you to pair you with a therapist. They have over 30,000 licensed professionals on their service of a whole variety of different backgrounds and specialties. And then you do the sessions online from the comfort and convenience of your own home. And if for some reason the therapist you're working with isn't the right fit, you can switch at any time at no extra cost. Now, hearing this from an ad on YouTube is one thing, but you can actually go read real reviews from over 8,000 people on Trustpilot to see what their experience was like using the service. So if you've been thinking about therapy, wanting to give it a shot, well, if you go to betterhelp.com/corridorcrew, you can get 10% off your first month of therapy. You can always get a fresh start any time of the year. betterhelp.com/corridorcrew. 10% off.
It looks so,
good. It's so creepy.
Ew! It's gross. So wait, hold on. No. Go frame by frame on that. It climbs. Look here on the ground.
That's just puppetry.
But it reaches
that's
over.
Wait,
Backwards? If you do it
Yeah.
backwards,
that's backwards.
Yeah, you
That's
gotta do it in
backwards.
reverse.
But they did backwards and then forwards.
And then
they-
just cut.
Yeah, do a match cut
Yeah.
between the two.
there's actually 3 different pieces to this shot. And what that was the little pull toy facehugger running, cut the camera, place a floppy stunt facehugger on the table, pull that back, run that in reverse. We placed the facehugger back on the table leg and yanked it directly towards camera. And when you cut those 3 pieces together, you see it run, jump, and leap at the camera.
Well, that was 1986. Aliens. Then we have Aliens 3, Alien Resurrection, and then in 2012, we have Prometheus. Prometheus was Ridley Scott's big opportunity to expand the Aliens universe. New technology was available to really bring this vision to life.
He got Magneto.
He got Magneto, which is crazy. Well, Ridley Scott is known as being quite a visionary when it comes to creating his worlds. Like, he has a very specific vision of what he wants to see, and he often likes the ability to see it realized in the real world as an option always, and is not afraid to use visual effects when necessary, which I really appreciate. By doing that, you end up with a really nice hybrid of practical and visual effects, which honestly, we've talked about so many times on the show, is the best form for visual effects to thrive in. And this scene kind of showcases that quite nicely. You have the character of the engineer.
I like it.
Mammoth, what is he like? He's like the perfect specimen, right? Genetically, is that the idea? This is a major spoiler.
Oh, he's big.
Dude, what a big dude. Guys, like, I slept for millions of years and you woke me up for this? I mean, how much of that is real versus not?
Right, that's the question.
So based on the added shadows, I'm getting the impression there's a lot of real engineer and a lot of CG monster going on.
Yeah.
It is all real engineer for the most part. Obviously, there's some digital additions made, but the entirety of that suction beast, that squid, has been added onto the motion of the actor on set. But the way that they got him onto that door is really cool. And I feel like, Niko, you probably know how they did that, right?
Wires!
Did they just tilt the set sideways?
No. It was all wire work, but they mounted him in a really cool rig that allowed him to plant his feet squarely on the door and basically press up against it. And they could almost animate his motion up and down with all these different wires that were coming in and out of his vest. Now this puts the animators of Squidward in a very interesting position because they need to, first of all, not only animate incredibly complex tentacles, they need to make sure that those animations make sense based on the motion of a guy who's just guessing what they'd be doing.
Yeah, especially like when she pushes off of him with her foot, like right here, there's like, that's a level of like real interaction that I feel like is missing from a lot of films that are so VFX heavy.
Yeah.
Because you don't have actors that can just do stuff like that on set in the moment.
And the way it darkened the engineer, the darkness, the shading, you know?
Yeah. And, in Ridley Scott fashion, he had a full thing built out for reference on set. And that was kind of the mantra on the movie. They're like, look, we're going to build out literally as much as we possibly can with the knowledge being that we are going to replace it at some point with CG. That was just kind of the knowledge of the crew, which is, maybe there's a piece in that. But, they built out full levels of the tentacles. They built out the full body. You're getting amazing lighting reference. And some of it you're actually shooting practically, like the shot of the tentacle slapping up against the window right here. That's not one of the 1,300 VFX shots in the movie.
That's a lot of work.
A lot of work. At the end, there's a post-credit scene that is so freaking cool and visceral and nasty. I want to show you guys. Gnarly.
Whoa.
So that sequence is especially cool. I don't know if you guys could tell, but a lot of it was done with puppets.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like pretty high quality for being like a post-credits scene.
Right? And like the amount of detail in the close-up of it spilling out of his chest.
Yeah.
Dude, that little xenomorph would probably do pretty well in the Tour de France. Just
So they had a puppeteer team with a mini version of this deacon, and they're all animating the different limbs and whatnot. But in true Ridley Scott fashion, when you have everything in camera, then you can pick and choose where to go in and make tweaks. So Weta took scans of all of these like baby deacon models and puppets and whatnot, and then simply made enhancements. But like what I love is that I genuinely don't know kind of where it starts and where it ends.
I'm pretty sure
That feels
the
siege.
last couple shots here where he's like actually fully out, he's full siege the whole time.
You think they replaced the full thing? Let's look at the behind the scenes.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
that was clearly wrong.
Right? It's so good. And there's that friggin' engineer.
Oh, that's totally different. They replaced that. They replaced that.
They may have replaced
I
it.
was right.
You may have been right.
Because I'm just looking at the specularity on the head and it doesn't match.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what? I bet they probably maybe added some goop to it because they're already having to like track it and paint out the rest of the frame. Like there's literally 2 guys in the shot. It's probably a mix of both where it's like they're keeping a lot of it there, but where you're getting like some nice highlight glints off the top, they're maybe adding some CG slime or something.
Yeah. The VFX dude was on file basically saying, you know, like the practical puppet looks so good, we only had to make small tweaks to it to bring it home. Then there is this sequence. Never investigate that kind of shape. Just don't do it.
This is a creepy ass looking dude.
I don't remember this.
What do you guys think?
You know, it started off kind of cool.
Started off cool, yeah.
It kind of just became like blurry CG guy with like overexposed fire.
Yeah.
Like this look great right here.
Pause on that close-up of his face. Like, what a weird alien-looking face. Because it looks like he just had a helmet like everyone else, but his face inflated into it.
Yeah.
What would you say if I told you that none of the visual effects you just watched were in the final cut?
I did say, I don't remember that.
Is this a fan film?
Why don't we play the actual scene from the movie?
What? What did we just watch? This looks obviously way more real, but I'm so confused at what we just watched.
Okay, I find myself kind of conflicted right now.
What are we looking at? What? Make this
Okay,
make sense.
I think I know what happened. They filmed everything on set like we see it in the final cut. Like, that's how it was done. But the expectation there was that they were going to make this guy look a little bit more alien-like, which was what we saw in that bit. And they took it all the way to completion. They got it in the cut, and it didn't play well with audience testing. And so they're like, we should do something else. What if we take it back to how we actually originally filmed it? That's my guess.
You are so close. You are right there. They shot it all like this with practical prosthetics on the actor in this exact same way. Again, this is the theme throughout the entire thing. Ridley Scott likes to see it both ways. Then they took it all the way through the post pipeline, like you just said, to completion.
Yeah, because those looked like final shots.
And Ridley looked at both and he said, I like this one better. And scrapped all that visual effects work.
I don't know.
I know! So this is it! That's what I'm saying!
So much. Having watched both sequences a few times now, I can kind of see him making the right call on this, where it's like, the one that's in the final movie does feel more visceral. It feels more realistic. And it's at a stage in the process where it's like, well, this was the idea, but it's just not working. I'm sorry, but we have to cut it. Like,
I know.
it makes sense. I get it.
I know,
get it. It's
yeah.
just I hate wasted work. So
Exactly. It's a sucky decision to have to make.
I'll be honest. I think you could make the decision and make the right decision without having to do this amount of wasted work. And it's like we just watched Aliens, which basically has 0 VFX in it.
Yeah.
It's like all in camera. There's no, oh, maybe I like this shot better, or let's try this, or why don't you do this and we'll replace it. Like, there's none of that. Every single shot is like, this is the shot, we got it in camera, this will be the final shot in the movie. You're looking at shots that are 100% in camera.
Yeah.
Done with basically puppetry.
Down and clear.
Oh,
So
look at
cool.
that. That's awesome.
Now, this sequence was cut from the original film. It has some really cool effect shots in it.
Rip.
So what are we looking at here, guys?
I'm looking at practical builds.
But what scale of practical build?
It feels like it's got some weight to it on that suspension system.
Well, okay, it could have some weight, but maybe it's also the size of like a shoebox.
So you think it's a miniature?
I would almost,
I haven't seen enough of it yet.
I would almost
to
certainly
say.
bet.
But don't you see a human being back there?
I didn't until now.
Do they build a full-size trucker's truck?
No way, not a trucker's truck, dude.
No way. The best
So is this real?
So I'm seeing what appears to be full-scale volumetrics Like, as in, like, it's not miniature smoke. It looks like full-scale, like, windy smoke. And then, of course, the rope, that, like, weird plastic yellow sheet rippling, that leads me to think that maybe that whole trucker's truck is full-scale.
Yeah, because there's a person back there wrestling with that tarp.
Unless that person
is a puppet.
Is
no,
a puppet.
They wouldn't do. No. That's a human being for sure.
You know, the fact that you guys are struggling that much in this shot really speaks volumes to the techniques of these guys.
It's because it can go 100 different directions, and I just don't know what direction they went.
And it's because I was born in 1991, and I always forget what they had access to.
When this sequence began, I was like, oh, miniatures, awesome. You can kind of tell they're a little wobbly, you know, like this, like, oh, sick miniatures.
Look at the way that ropes.
But one of the problems with miniatures is you can't have people on set. Yeah. And right as I'm thinking this to myself, boom, there's a shot of the person putting that tarp over the car. I'm like, oh, that was clearly put there exactly for people like me.
Yeah.
Who are thinking, oh, this has to be a miniature. There's no people in the shot. No, it's a miniature. What we're looking at here is 100% in camera once again with no compositing.
Ooh.
And no rear projection for this shot. So tell me, how do you do this shot?
Are they just doing like a crazy level of forced perspective here? Where it's like she's way far away from the camera. No way!
They set up the miniature and they have this little alleyway with a hole, and then way in the distance is a person with a car and a light over them just blasting it, doing the shot.
I can see it now. I can totally see it now. You see like the ground and like the hallway there. Just a little cutout.
And they're they're not full-scale volumetrics. They got you with that one.
They totally got me.
They look amazing.
I don't know anything apparently.
Oh man.
That's all real.
When you say real, you mean in camera?
Real.
Yeah.
Look at the top left there. What is all that?
I mean, that's just a painting on a wall behind them.
like freaking Wizard of Oz status?
Yeah, 100%. You know, the old-fashioned volume when it was just a picture that couldn't move.
Yeah. You stack enough atmosphere.
Okay, yeah, they put a lot of rain and full-scale volumetrics in the foreground.
Gosh, it'd be so fun to be on that kind of a set.
So you're about to see a really interesting shot here, where they first walk up to like the alien hive for the first time. There it is. Just kind of a cool shot. Kind of goes by.
Or is it some sort of
Wait a
mirror
minute.
play
What
again?
is? Okay, hold up.
What silly games are you playing, Niko?
Miniature foreground forced perspective
mirror
Texas
flashlight.
switch.
Yep. This is a hanging miniature. What we were seeing here is they wanted to extend this crazy ceiling to show like the aliens had built this crazy like nest. But to build this in real life would be too cost prohibitive. Is they took the area right above the actors. Truly, like, it is inches above their heads, and they did all the sculpture work there. So that thing's maybe a couple feet wide, you know, maybe about 10 feet wide, right above the actors. It's not the 30, 40, 50 feet wide piece it would need to be on the ceiling and wall if it was real. And then there's a seam where it then matches the actual set, which is set further back. So it's basically a forced perspective trick with the foreground and the background, and they're trying to, you know, they're matching the lights and the condensation and the haze in the background versus the haze in the foreground, and they got it just right when they're blowing air around and turning the lights on and spritzing it with water bottles, where suddenly the haze settled perfectly and the top matched the bottom, and they got the shot, and they panned down from above, and it looks like one crazy big space, but it's really just a tiny miniature right here, and then an actual front built out in front of them. That's all it is.
But they're able to shine their flashlight on it still?
We had somebody off camera moving a light around in sync with their action.
Because you don't actually see where the light's coming from. You just see light going over it, which immediately tells it scale. That's amazing.
That thing that you think is the art department spending a lot of money on the set is actually the effect shot. So we were real happy with that. You know, it's nothing better than to fool a studio exec.
Are there any other series that we should take a look at as like a conglomerate sort of react? Leave a comment down below with a suggestion. Maybe we'll take a look at it. Now see you later, everyone. See you next week.